So for me, the impossible task of dealing with the hurdles everybody seems to refer to, and also a bit of a difficult task, because we all want to see this business flourish, but we need a good network of rules to assist.
And that in 8 minutes.
And that in 8 minutes. So here we go. So we started off, actually, we haven't sort of started thinking about vehicle to grid and smart charging more at large yesterday. We started off in 2016, and in the meantime we published quite a few reports. And I have to say, not all of them have been followed through. So there's lots of hurdles still to overcome, and a lot of rules that are lacking, especially on the regulatory side. There's not much arranged for yet. I spoke to one of our energy law colleagues the other day and asked him about, hey, what do you know about vehicle to grid smart charging? What's been arranged for in, for example, Dutch legislation? Well, there is pretty much nothing arranged for. So a lot of the things are technically possible, but there is no framework yet on transparency, on how to deal with the DSO, for example. I won't dwell into all the detail, because the reports are available online and you can read yourselves. Our latest report, which was referred to by Robert as well, Waarde en Weg Voorwaarts. So I'll leave the translation up to you, but what we concluded there's a lot of potential, but there's also still quite a few things to arrange for. And one of them is the double taxation that people keep on referring to, and I'll come to that in a minute. We got a reaction from the ministry, and they picked up on the double taxation issue. All the other issues were not mentioned in the letter, so I think there's some work to do there as well for other ministries than the Ministry of Financial Finance. So this is the report. I think a lot of the, I see it is all very important, because they all got a 1, but I think the gist of it is, given the time, a lot of the potential has been discussed by previous speakers. I think there's the investments in the power grids, the lower cost of energy, reduction of CO2 emissions. You don't have to fire up the gas production to stabilize the grid. In the report, we looked at the available capacity of EVs. How could you use the batteries? And then, and I think that was part of Robert's presentation as well, are EV drivers motivated to actually use vehicle to grid in the platform? If you take a few steps there and you look at foreign case studies, there's actual hundreds of euros on the table, and maybe even more if the platforms become more efficient. The cost savings for the society at large are quite significant. And obviously there's the reduction in CO2. So if you see this, you would ask yourself, why aren't we doing this on a large scale already? There's really no reason not to. But then just diving into one issue, and that's the tax issue, which is if you charge your car, you pay energy tax, obviously, and that tariff differs per where you charge. Public is a different rate, home is a different rate, large office building is a different rate. So I think there's a point on transparency to be made. Decharging is not a taxable event in itself, but you lose the power in your battery. If you then recharge the battery again, you pay energy tax again. So effectively, you have the same amount of electricity in your battery, but you paid energy tax twice. And in an ideal world, you would only pay on actual consumption. Now, in the Netherlands, for home situations, this is not such an issue until we had, and this is 23, but it will be 25 when the netting rule will be slowly but gradually be abolished. In a netting situation, you net over the year, so the issue will not be so pregnant until 25. If politicians don't change their mind and start changing the rule earlier again. But for public charging points, the issue is there, right? Because you charge back to the grid, get the energy back, and there's an energy tax on that again. Now we know that the ministry is working on a solution, and that could be something along the lines which is already there for stationary batteries, and that would solve the issue for the isolated public charging points. Where we do have some issues is with home situations where you could have your own production. You could have the bidirectional charging, but you could also not be the owner of the car, for example. So you have multiple stakeholders. And that's one of, I liked, sorry, I forgot your name, but the drawing with all the stakeholders in the system. If you look at that from an energy tax perspective, it's quite difficult to... Exactly. But so you understand that there's an issue still there to be solved. And I think one of the other points to be made is that if you compare EVs to ICE vehicles, then an ICE vehicle gets its gasoline or diesel from the pump, and there's one tax rate. Whereas for the energy that goes into your vehicle, it can be all sorts of taxation rates, which makes it difficult to compare how cheap is it to drive or how comparable is it to drive an EV compared to a normal vehicle. So I think that is something that is difficult for policymakers as well. So then we have Brussels, and we're hoping that Brussels will solve our issue. Brussels has a new energy tax directive which is dealing with this issue. It has the wording as under the first bullet, that we would see the vehicle as a redistributor, and that would potentially leave us with no taxation. The platform Electromobility wasn't too sure about it. They suggested an additional paragraph which will say shall be exempt from taxation. So you will actually it will be more clear that there should be no tax on bidirectional charging. And also in the A4 we just heard about, there's also in the recital a comment on legislative hurdles such as double taxation and to be solved. This is all part of the big Fit for 55 package. You may have seen that. But it takes a bit of time to process. So hopefully by the end of this year or maybe early next year we'll see some developments in this field. And then we have a European-wide solution hopefully for this issue. But that will require 27 member states to agree on this, because the energy tax directive is it's tax law, so you need unanimity of all member states, which is not always easy in practice. And then we also heard already about our neighbors, the Belgians, and they actually are moving ahead on this. They are introducing an additional subsidy for bidirectional charging, up to 8,000 euros, which is obviously a big help in the home market. But they also are looking to take away the regulatory constraints of having bidirectional charging in your home. So I think that is maybe something our Dutch ministries could look at as well, because obviously we want to keep this leading position, and if our neighbors can do it, why can't we do it? And if we wait for Europe, it may be may take a while still. And also in Germany, you see more and more projects upcoming. Hopefully, that's a bit of an idea where we are with the tax environment. And we'll leave it to that.